Welcome to OurSport. I'm your host, Larry. My son, John's doing the recording and editing. Week 9's over. The big story is Oklahoma losing to Kansas State. Another top 10 upset in the noon window. But I want to start with something else. I want to start with Texas. Texas is back. So Texas loses on the road to TCU and TCU's true freshman quarterback, Max Duggan. Texas, you have to understand how they view themselves. Texas thinks that they're royalty. Texas does not hate Oklahoma more than anything else. You would think that would be what they hate most, is that program in Norman. No. What Texas hates most is any sort of resistance from what they consider the inferior teams in that state. And the inferior teams in that state, to them, is every team. They can't stand it when somebody like Baylor or Texas Tech or TCU beats them and tries to think that they are on their level. This really bothers the Longhorns and their fans. So Texas fans have a reputation as being arrogant, and now they've hired Tom Herman. This was a few years ago. Herman himself had a great run as an Ohio State assistant and a Houston head coach, but he's kind of got this same reputation, being arrogant. Herman's smart. He's in Mensa. You'll know because he'll tell you he's in Mensa often. But whenever he lost the game, you'd go on Texas fan boards and they would start calling him that way because of his attitude. And if you remember a few years ago, the game against Oklahoma State, they lost that game. They're not supposed to lose to Oklahoma State. And toward the end of it, Herman has an incident where, he's charging the field over some perceived slight that Mike Gundy might have done. Hold me back. Here I come. And then there's Mike Gundy on the other side. And Mike Gundy is just kind of looking at him like, what are you doing, bud? And he just goes back and, interacts with his fans. Handles it like he should.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box. Motherfucker!
So, what you have now is a fan base that is not getting what it wanted. Herman is in his third year there. They're 5-3. Lost to Oklahoma already. They're not going to be in a Big 12 championship game. They still got undefeated Baylor to contend with. Baylor's an usurper. How dare you assume that you're as good as Texas? And they could be on their way to a really disappointing year considering what the prospects were when the season started. And Herman is going to get a lot of flack for this. When you're perceived as arrogant by an arrogant fan base, by your own fans, not a good situation to be in. I don't know how much you can blame Sam Ehlinger for this. Sam Ehlinger is really a great quarterback for Texas. He's carried this team. He had 4 interceptions against TCU. The best quarterback in college football is going to have a day like this. It just happens. What you got is Ehlinger, a couple of great receivers in Duvernay and Colin Johnson, and that's it. That's it. They can't run the ball well. It's one of the worst defenses in Texas history. And I think the fan base understands that. He's not going to get the blame for this. He's allowed to have a game like this. You think about how many times he's carried them. They were never even in the LSU game without him going up and down the field. So the blame is going to fall squarely on the head coach. This is not going the way they expected. This is not what they signed up for when they got Herman. They want to contend at least for the Big 12 title and definitely be a playoff contender. That's not happening right now. Okay, I'm going to bring John in here. We love all football. So far, we've been all college football, but we love the NFL. We're going to get more into the NFL. We're definitely going to be into the NFL draft. And I want to I want to talk about a team right now, the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go over a timeline here. The Eagles were playing the Cowboys last Sunday night, and by the time you're watching this, they might have a game against the Bills. We don't know the outcome of that game as of this recording. I don't think it matters here because this is kind of evergreen content. This is something that correlates to the entire Eagles program as it goes on. They were playing the Cowboys on a big, big Sunday night game for the division title. Both teams are 3-3. Both teams needed the win. And then their head coach, Doug Pederson, before that game, he goes out in the media and he guarantees a win. Now, they had a linebacker on the Eagles, Zach Brown. The week before the Cowboys game, they played the Vikings. And he started talking trash about Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins. Cousins lights them up and then puts a Twitter mention about Zach Brown, basically thanking him. So they cut Zach Brown the next week. Meanwhile, here's Pederson guaranteeing a win. What happened when he guaranteed that win against Dallas?
Well, Dallas wasn't too happy about it. He guaranteed it on the Monday beforehand, right? So 6 days prior, and that Friday, one of the Cowboys players, a really good one,
DeMarcus
Lawrence, he was asked about what he thought about Doug Pederson guaranteeing the win, and he basically said, does he play in the field? Then he better shut up. And he seemed pretty angry about it, and then they played like it.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't... It backfired completely.
And I don't see why you would do this. I don't see what the point of doing this is. Because it's not like you're the 2-3 Bengals playing the 2-3 Bills. You've got this game in a 1 o'clock window. This is for the division title against a team that, on talent alone, is more talented than the Eagles. Eagles have a better quarterback, for sure. Eagles have a better head coach. Yeah, you disagree?
I think I see it.
Okay.
I think I see it. Because everything you said is correct. This is probably for the title, right? Whoever wins this might win the division.
Right.
Right? Whoever wins that.
Redskins and Giants are out of it.
Yeah, completely. Right. And you know you're the worst team, and you need to light a fire under them. You need to do something big, either in the media or in the locker room or something. You have to get your guys into the game, right?
Right.
You have to do something like that. And maybe this was the best way he could think of doing it, was guaranteeing the win.
Very poorly thought out. Because you didn't light a fire. You didn't light a fire under your team, obviously. You lit a fire under who?
Under the opposite.
You lit a fire under the other team. That team, the Cowboys, had 3 or 4 players who were hurt. Well, they all made sure to play. They all made sure to play in that game. And you get the Cowboys, when they have their offensive tackles, they're an entirely different team. So Dak Prescott's a different quarterback. And they were all ready to play. I mean, that game was on national television. Everybody in the NFL, the players and coaches, they watched that game at night. And the Cowboys knew that this game is on national television and this guy is guaranteeing a win in front of the whole country, like he's going to come in here and do. They were at least going to get a competitive game from Dallas. And they got a lot more. Now, here's some of the worst things about the Eagles. First of all, they didn't show up in that game. This was clearly not well thought out by Pederson. And now, some of this comes out. Not only Zach Brown getting cut for talking, which Pederson did the exact same thing. Now, Lane Johnson, our offensive tackle, he's a talker, but he can talk because he's a really good player. Well, he had a bad game in that one. DeMarcus Lawrence got his first sack against him. Eagles fans always used to say, for a guy who never gets any sacks against us, DeMarcus Lawrence talks a lot, and he did. But then Lane Johnson comes out later on, and he says, okay, now we have to get guys to start being on time to meetings, to start paying more attention, to get focused on little details. What?
So, you weren't doing that before?
You weren't doing that before? What is
going on? Now that we're 3-4 and our chances for the playoffs are almost entirely diminished, and our chances of winning the division are almost none.
Right.
Now we're going to start really trying.
That's a bad culture. That's a bad culture when you have a guy who, well, first of all, he's calling guys out in public. They're doing too much of this in public. They're putting too much of this on the airwaves, and Pederson did the same. And what's he going to do? He can't tell him to stop. He did the same thing. Because Lane Johnson, if you're really a leader, and Johnson's a hell of a player, he's really good. If you're really a leader, you don't say that in public. You go and get the team in private and say, start getting here on time. We're not focused. You can't go out calling out your teammates because you know it's going to make the rounds in the media, and even small media, much less like the Philly papers, are going to say, what's going on? Wait a minute. They're going to start asking Doug Pederson about this. Wait, you have players that are coming in late? You have players not paying attention? Who was it? Can you tell us?
Well, I mean, I think something else, you kind of mentioned this,
yeah.
But something else that happened when Doug Pederson guaranteed the win and started talking is now he can't tell off Lane Johnson about this, right?
Yeah.
He can't get angry at him for talking to the media, right?
Right.
He can't tell off his guys for going out into the media and talking about his players and stuff because he did the exact same thing.
Right.
Right? So it opened up this entirely new thing now where they're going to have all this media presence that he can't control.
And then you see the sniping. Orlando Scandrick was on that team. He got cut. And the minute he got cut, Orlando Scandrick was a former Cowboy. And Orlando Scandrick, very smart player, very much a locker room lawyer. He goes out there on a national show and talks about what's going on in the locker room. Eagles do the worst thing possible, which is their captain, their safety, Malcolm Jenkins, he responds in public. And so you have all this, your laundry is out on the front yard. You're taking your dirty laundry and you throw them out in the street for everybody to see. All right, another thing Eagles fans are talking about, they know their team really well. The fan base has a bad reputation for being surly and obnoxious, maybe. But those are good fans. You have to give them credit for they know football. They follow their team and are passionate.
They know about their own.
They do. And one of the things they talk about is they're not drafting well now. Since Howie Roseman got the job back, his first draft pick was Carson Wentz. Home run. After that, it's been missed pick after missed pick. Derek Barnett, he's been fine. Sidney Jones, a complete bust. And they've also said this, a couple of the Philadelphia media. You look at how the Cowboys are drafting. You look at all their young players. The same draft they got Carson Wentz, which is a home run pick. The Cowboys got Anthony Brown, Jalen Smith, who's going to be in the Pro Bowl, Dak Prescott, their franchise quarterback, and Zeke Elliott. This is in one draft. That's in one draft. And now Pederson, you know his record against the Cowboys last 7 games? 2-5.
Not great.
2-5, and one of those games was at the end of the year when the Cowboys were resting their starters. They were 13-3 and putting Mark Sanchez at quarterback. In meaningful games, he's 1-5 against his team. So, Philadelphia fans, we know this about them. They hate the Dallas Cowboys. They can't stand them. The only people who really understand how much vitriol is involved here are Auburn and Alabama fans. I'm telling you, this is how bad they hate them. There's a homemade documentary about the history of the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what this is a documentary about the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what the documentary is called?
Screw the Cowboys?
It's called Dallas Sucks.
Yeah.
Dallas Sucks is the name of this documentary. And it's about the Eagles. So, yeah. And so for them to lose this game, they hate losing all these games. But now, you lost to your hated rival. Doug Pederson didn't guarantee you win. He guaranteed a win against those guys. And he didn't lose the game. He got embarrassed. He got embarrassed, and it wasn't on a 1 o'clock window. It was embarrassed at night with the whole country watching against, the fucking Cowboys. I can't stand them. That's who we lost to. That's bad. That's really bad.
Back to what you said about drafting.
Yeah.
About how they're not drafting well, which is very, very true.
Yeah.
They're starting to pick up free agents, trade, things like that, trying to build the team in other ways.
Right.
They picked up Jordan Howard, right?
Right.
And that's one of the things I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
And he's not a full-time starter. You have a workhorse back who, over the past 2 years, is third in the league in rushing, only behind Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley. Those are some great halfbacks.
Right.
He's a workhorse back, right? He's between the tackles, up the middle, and he's not a full-time starter. They have Miles Sanders,
second-round pick,
getting in reps, who has no vision. You watch him run.
Open holes all the time. Yeah.
And it's why? Why do you have a Pro Bowl level halfback that's getting half the carries behind some rookie who's not playing well?
Right.
And this isn't just a thing that happened a game and they're like, all right, we're going to switch it. No. This has been the entire season and they haven't changed it.
Yeah.
This has been consistently, and I don't understand it. I don't understand what the reasoning behind this is.
I don't understand it either because one of the things they can do well, one of their strengths is their offensive line. That is good offensive line. The coach is great. Jeff Stoutland, he coached the Alabama line when they blew out Notre Dame in a championship game. Really great offensive line coach. And this is really kind of a strength of their team. So one thing they can do well is play on the offensive line. Andre Dillon, the first-round pick and left tackle when he comes in for Jason Peters, he does look good. So it's not Carson Wentz throwing to his receivers. Carson Wentz, this team is 3-4. They played the Falcons. He throws a ball down the field. Nelson Aguilar drops that ball. Otherwise, they beat the Falcons. He threw a ball at the end against the Lions. Hit J.J. Arcega. That's how you pronounce it. Arcega-Whiteside.
Arcega-Whiteside,
yeah. Even though there's a C in there. Hits him right in the hands. He drops it. This team is so close to being a 5-2 team. And it's not Carson Wentz's fault. He's playing great, but he has no receivers. They have not drafted receivers. They probably going to trade for one. Secondary is a shambles. They cannot cover anybody. And you would think, like you said, play that game close. Run that ball between the tackles with that big halfback. That's what he can do well. You've got the line to do it. They put the ball in Carson's hands. Not a bad strategy at all, but they put the ball in the receiver's hands when they do it. It's a terrible strategy.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, about their secondary, this is a thing for the Eagles. They're injured consistently more than most teams in the league. It's something with their health staff,
Right.
something with their conditioning program is not right.
Yeah.
They have guys who are injured more often and longer than most teams in the league. Their secondary is in shambles because of injuries.
Right.
Last year, Carson Wentz, right, was playing with a back, and they're just like, at the end of the year, they just come out and they're like, he cracked a spine thing.
A lingering back injury. Goes back to North Dakota State.
But he had this for a while, and they didn't do anything about it. They
No.
let him play with it, and they didn't find it. It's just kind of
Right,
weird.
right. This was not diagnosed for a large portion of the season. A back injury to your franchise quarterback. Yeah.
Because why
I don't
you
know.
don't give him an X-ray when his back is in excruciating pain? I'd imagine, especially after getting hit by 300-pound defensive linemen.
Right.
But it's just something's not right with that whole conditioning health staff at the Eagles.
Yeah, and not to mention, it doesn't help when you take a guy like Sidney Jones, who you got as a value pick, but was coming off a severe injury and has not been good at all. It also doesn't help, like what you talked about, instead of drafting, they try to build through free agency. Well, when you get older players who are small, Deshaun Jackson, when those guys get hurt, they get hurt more easily, takes longer to recover. So they're at a tipping point. They're in danger. You can fix anything if you can draft well. That's, I think, their biggest problem. They don't draft well. Carson Wentz, the number 2 overall pick, that's easy. After that, they have not drafted well at all. So we have to talk about the big story of the week, which is Oklahoma going down to K-State. We mentioned that before. We had seen K-State earlier this year in person. We were impressed with them. Chris Kleiman is a good pedigree coming over from a national champion North Dakota State at the FBS level. This was actually a surprising win, though, that he could pull this off. Oklahoma's defense reverted, looks like, to a little bit of what they were last year. They were improved this year under Alex Grinch. Gave up some big plays in here. Heroic effort by both Jalen Hurts and by C.D. Lamb, their receiver. Defense looked like it was allergic to tackling. And if you watch K-State, they're doing the opposite of the air raid. They're bringing back the old school pro-style football, quarterback under center, running the ball. Gave Oklahoma fits with this. They could not handle this. When your whole conference has a certain style of football, when they all play it, it's what you practice against, it's what you're used to seeing. And when somebody brings in something different like this, especially something that challenges your physicality in a league where that's not normal, you can see that they were at least going to have success with it. Now, the OurSport Top 10. You can see it right here. Penn State's up to number 5 for us. That's not a great Michigan State team, but they went impressively on the road. And I can't keep Auburn out of my top 10. I'm not putting Georgia ahead of them. I'm just going by the eye test of what I see. Auburn's played a brutal schedule, and I really love that defense. I've talked about it before. Those guys played so great. LSU's just tough. LSU's just incredibly tough to deal with. And Auburn's 2 losses are at Florida, at LSU, and it's not like they played a bunch of scrubs beside that. And they'll have a chance to prove me right. They've got Georgia and Alabama. I think they're better in Georgia, obviously. And I'm looking forward to that. Everybody's looking forward to 2 weeks from this recording. LSU at Bama. Hopefully a 1 versus 2 matchup. Depends what the committee does. And Penn State at Minnesota, both 8-0. The only time in the poll era that 2 8-0 teams are going head-to-head in the same week. So the chalk is over. We have upsets now every week, big upsets. Top 5 teams losing to unranked teams 3 weeks in a row. All in the noon window, if you notice, the kind of sleepy noon window. And now we have these Clash of the Titan games coming up in 2 weeks from this recording. We are really looking forward to this season. Is honestly a lot funner than last year.
Well, this is different For those of you that don't know, which I'm assuming is most of you, it was my father's birthday, October the 23rd, this Wednesday, and I knew I wanted to do something for the channel. So, a few weeks ago, we had a small segment about wide receivers, and we discussed how there's so many of them around the country, which is true, but because there's so many, we forgot to talk about a lot, and I mean a lot of them. So we made a very, we feel, full list of most of the good wide receivers in college football right now. And I took all these names and put them together in a giant compilation type thing, and here it is. Hit it.
Stinks. Clean pocket for Wilkins. He pumps and still shoots it long. Got his man wide open. Brandon Ayuk. Touchdown, Arizona State.
3 third downs have been. Morgan steps up. He's run down the sideline. One-on-one. What a catch!
South running lanes for those running backs.
Flag on the field, so a free play. The connection. Omar Bayless with a man all over him. Still holding on.
Get it out on the edge. Slipping a tackle. And racing down the sidelines as Bell makes another cut. Making people miss and fighting down to the 5-yard line.
Spate is going to have plenty of time to set up here and go downfield. Tariq Black waiting. Touchdown for the Super Frosh.
Still the field goal kicker has made 10 of his last 11. McDonald, deep shot, end zone. Forget about kicking a field goal. Cedric Bird, touchdown, Hawaii.
Looking for him again. And Callaway's got it with a flag down. He's into the end zone. It's a touchdown.
5 receiver look. Burrow steps up and will take a downfield shot. And has Chase. And he'll score.
Book loads, fires, far sideline. What a catch by Claypool. Ian Book, blitz coming, throws to the corner. Claypool, touchdown.
From the 48-yard line, Pederson to the sideline. Nico Collins breaking free, got a block, and Collins, touchdown.
Dylan Gabriel, the freshman, wings it for Davis. Gabe Davis has it.
Play clock getting down. Ellinger slant. Duvernay. First down and touchdown.
Browning, Fuller, caught, stays in bound, touchdown, Huskies.
Calvert gonna sling it downfield, looking for Gandy Golden, one-handed catch. See you later. Gandy Golden to the house.
Kind of cushion there on 3rd down.
And Clifford, after converting, looks to find Handler deep. He's got a touchdown, Penn State.
Several times you saw Chancellor Siverud, who presented me with the award. Lawrence pressured, throws deep, and they win the jump ball as they so often do.
Special teams.
Luton for the end zone. Touchdown. What a catch by Isaiah Hodgins.
Missile that was thrown late by Jake Luton. Isaiah Hodgins.
Pick up of 18. Burrow right back at it. Into the end zone. And Jefferson is there.
Dobbs heaves it. They're bunched up in the end zone. It's tipped up. It's caught. It is caught. Jawan Jennings.
Ellinger. Deep again. Sideline Johnson. It's got it. Inside the 30. Colin Johnson.
Romero slings it. Connects. Johnson has a wide open lane for the touchdown.
Pretty good team. Floyd Little, Larry Zonka, and Tom Coughlin were on that team. Alabama's not bad either. Judy, did he stay in bounds? Murray. Down the field. Murray. CD Lamb! What a game!
Shermer lofts it up on 2nd down. Looking for Lipscomb. Flag down. Catch is made.
This catch, watch this, come over. Wow.
With 8 back in coverage for Houston. McMillan launches down the middle for McCluskey, and he breaks free! Jalen McCluskey! Touchdown! They take the lead with 3 seconds left! Play action. Solomon. Caught! Touchdown! Denzel Mims! Pederson. Winding up, he's got receiver. Peoples-Jones down the sideline. Peoples-Jones, touchdown, Wolverines. They give Daniels play action, throws the deep ball, underthrown, but caught for a touchdown.
Bouchel looking for Prochet. Who has it? Incomplete. The catch was made out of bounds.
Further review. Receiver possessed the ball. Got a foot down in bounds. Maintain control. Through the ground. Touchdown.
Collins drops it. Picks it up, steps up, looking for Rager deep. He gets inside position and the catch, and now breaks away. Rager's going to score. Touchdown, TCU.
Continue to work to the perimeter, picks up enough.
Bouchel on the post, wide open. Oh, this is room service. Robertson again. Touchdown.
Quite warm in the dome. Amari Rodgers breaks the tackle and gets the first down and much more. He may go. Amari Rodgers. Touchdown, Clemson. What a turn of events.
Access to the field. Lawrence extending the play with the clock winding down. He's going to heave one. A jump ball in the back of the end zone. Is it caught by Ross? It is for a touchdown.
Just going towards the end zone. Watch Ross here. Throw the hand up, and then the elevation.
Pump fake one way, long ball the other. Touchdown. Well, they're going to say he's out. I don't know about that.
No, I don't either. Now, you are allowed to push him out, but I don't know if he did.
Now they say touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's a touchdown.
Back tonight. Over the middle, complete. Room to run. Catch and run. First down. Chenault has even more room to run. Goodbye. Love this guy. Chenault.
And Tagovailoa play action. Zipped across the middle. Catch made by Devontae Smith. And the man who had the last word last season catching the championship.
Here's King, got plenty of time, got all day, taking a shotgun, and wide open, drops that one in the hands of Marquez Stevenson, and he scores again.
Lawson going for it on 4th down. That pass caught. First down and more inside the 20. Still Surratt on his feet inside the 10, down to about the 4. So an early punt for Michael Sleep Dalton. And Tyler Vaughns will grab it at the 18. And Vaughns with a lot of space. And there goes Tyler Vaughns. First career punt return touchdown. How about that to help out your redshirt freshman QB?
Jalen Hurts in for him. And Jalen comes up throwing down the middle. Jalen Waddle. Jalen to Jalen. Waddle, great speed. He's gone. Touchdown.
Down to 2. Sanders throws, caught. Wallace across the 30, lowers the helmet, and Wallace still going. Wallace in a foot race. A stiff arm. Did he stay in bounds? Is he still in? He is. Touchdown, Tylan Wallace.
10 at the bottom of the formation. It's Washington on the deep ball. Scotty Washington delivers in the big spot yet again. And it's a Deacon touchdown.
Seconds in the 4th. Nix steps up, he throws to Williams. He's got it! Touchdown Auburn! Touchdown Auburn!
So on behalf of me and John, we want to thank you guys for joining us this week. We're on multiple media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and email. All the links are in the description below. As always, we encourage anybody who hasn't to watch our inaugural episode, gets an idea of what we're all about over here. And if you have any suggestions for your favorite team, that you want us to talk about them, you have any questions that we want us to read on the channel, we'll be happy to do it. We want to be user friendly. So once again, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week.